Beltrami County work session to order. First item on the agenda is the introduction of new employees. I think we might have a new employee or two. If we do, please come up to the microphone and state your name and give a little background from where you're from and so on. Hello.
Hi, my name is Jamie Danielson. I was hired on at 2/28 this year. I am from Shovelin, Minnesota.
Great. Originally from Shevlin, and
I have lived in my house for 30 years over in the
Awesome.
Shovelin address.
cool. Well, welcome aboard.
All right.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for? No? All right. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yep.
Hi, my name is Samuel Hendrickson. I was hired May 20th of this year, and I'm originally from Montevideo, Minnesota.
What are you gonna do for the sheriff department or
Yep,
corrections?
corrections.
Corrections, okay, great.
Yeah, so far everything's good though.
Great. Well, welcome aboard, Samuel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No. Looks like that's it for new employees. Future work meeting topics. Anybody have any future work meeting topics they'd like to bring up? Not seeing any. We'll go on to Cass Lake Fire Department. Our Fire Chief, Robert, is here to go through a presentation to give us an update on the Cass Lake Fire Department and what we have going on there. Welcome, Robert.
Welcome. Ani Buju. So like Craig said, my name's Robert Jaspers and I'm from the Cass Lake Fire Department and I've never used one of these. So I'm assuming just the little button here will click me over.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wasn't exactly sure what we were looking for today, so I thought maybe just a little overview of who we are and what's going on over in Cass Lake.
Great.
So that's just a little history about the Cass Lake Fire Department. It was originally founded, I think, prior to 1900-ish or so. The Relief Association, who manages the retirement fund for the firefighters, is as far back as, I think, 1903. In 2005, the city and surrounding government agencies created a joint powers. And then they created the Cass Lake Rural Fire Association with that. So we're kind of a little bit independent on our own as far as how we're ran structurally. And I send like a budget out to the 11 members of the association each year, and then they all pay their share of fire protection fees. So there's a little bit more about our fire coverage area there. You'll see the blue is the Beltrami County area. We have the 4 areas, 3 townships, and then the 1 unorganized township, which was Brook Lake. And then that is why Craig comes to our meetings and helps us out in a good way that he does. So there's a little bit more what I was talking about, how we're funded. I believe everybody got a copy too, right? So they had a chance to read through.
I don't know, did that get out to everybody or no?
Did not.
I know it didn't actually, so that's something maybe you could send out, Diane, just so they have the data if they want to peruse it later. It's a pretty convoluted formula for how we come up with it. Takes into number of fire calls and tank households and
Fire hours,
yeah,
marketable value, things like that throughout the year. And then it's thrown into a real nice formula, and it really breaks down quite well for each of the entities. So, like the smaller townships or whatnot that don't get a lot of calls, they're not having to pay a really expensive price overall. So, and then there's Leech Lake Reservation is one of our entities, and within our boundaries, 381 of those acres are within the reservation. Square miles, I should say.
Yep.
Try not to get nervous here.
That's all right. Great.
So yeah, like we showing there on the map, you can kind of see our outline again. And then some of the surrounding departments, I believe we have mutual aid agreements with everybody.
I found that map to be really, really interesting to be able to see how everything, lots of different fire departments that we're right in the middle of.
That's a good map. That would make a good mouse pad.
Actually, looks like it might be. I don't know.
Probably sell you one if you want.
I'll buy one.
Some more things. We do a lot of training and drills. We do mandatory monthly trainings, plus we do a bunch of extra trainings. When I took over as chief for the department, one of the main things that the guys wanted us to do was really amp up our training. And so we've really done a lot of that.
You got almost all the guys now are certified, or aren't they, with the fire one and, or, you know,
So, yeah, so everybody has to be Fire One certified to be a firefighter in the state of Minnesota. So not only do we do that, we certify them as firefighter two, and the association has agreed to pay for their state firefighter license. So I think we're about 18 or 19 guys right now out of 24 that are actually state licensed firefighters, which is not a requirement for volunteer fire departments right now. So
we're going above and beyond is what I was getting at.
Yes, yeah.
And are we fully staffed at 23 or close to it?
24 and we're fully staffed right now.
Oh, 24, okay.
Counting myself.
Oh, yeah, okay, yep.
We do a lot of community events. We help the Cass County Sheriffs do their ice rescue training every year. We do the parades and we go do a lot of like fire extinguisher safety training and stuff like that for a lot of the small businesses and agencies around town. There's the ALC career fair that I met Joe
I
at.
see two of my students there. One of them,
We had a great time.
they got an A that day, putting on the equipment.
That's cool.
One of the big things we're doing for the last couple of years now is we're working on a new fire hall. So right now our current fire hall is about 4,000 square feet and we just don't have much room. There's no separation between the garage and administrative places. So like this morning, we had a structure fire up in Allen's Bay. Trucks come back, you get to smell them off gas for a day or two. You know, it gets kind of stinky in there. And that there is our little meeting area. And right behind on the right side of that is where our trucks park and everything, so.
And all the gear is hanging there and all the gear has been in that smoke and toxic stuff. And yeah, it's just not the greatest.
So, and there's just no room. We have a hazmat trailer, but it's 2 miles away in someone else's garage. You know, it's just, we don't have room for a four-wheeler or a type of boat or anything, and we need those things. So we're really hoping we can upgrade here soon.
And with the casino, the multi-story, we don't have room for a ladder truck. If we're, you know, to be able, if we were able to get one sooner than later, we don't have room to store it inside, you know.
Right, so the reservation agreed to lease us a parcel of property about 1.64 acres. You can see it on the sheet there. If you guys know where the Dairy Queen is in Cass Lake along Highway 2, so that's the area, and that's just kind of a quick drawing that we had drawn up a couple of years ago where we're hoping we'll have our fire department.
Robert had a criteria that it needed to be right next to a Dairy Queen.
I like those flamethrower burgers, what can I say? So, yeah, estimated current cost is about 5.4 million, and I just gotten that from the World Architects and Engineers. I think they're out of the cities. We have been raising money for it. So we're at a little over $1 million stashed away already, so that is one good thing. So we're really serious about, you know, hopefully completing this. Those are a list of some of the funders so far that we've had. Last summer I'd hurt my knee and I wasn't really able to do a lot of stuff, so I started pounding the grants and all the different things, and I think I went through, what did we say, Craig, 60 different organizations, foundations, and I attempted to reach out to as many as I could, and yeah, I didn't get a whole lot back, so other than the Mardog Foundation, that was really a really nice surprise there, so.
Robert's being modest when he says we, largely it's been him that has been the instigator behind all that fundraising and, you know, it's done a great job.
I need people driving me forward on it, so it's a we project. So, any comments, questions?
Yeah, thank you,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair. Chief, thanks for coming in today. Good information. Have you guys thought about doing bonding as a joint powers board? Do you have that ability to
So-
bond or?
We've thought about that and the idea behind bonding with each separate entity and everything like that is gonna get pretty. I think it would be really a really big upward battle to attempt to do that.
Could one of the members be the fiscal host or lead on it and go that
Possibly.
route?
It's just a matter of the cost for a lot of these townships are very, meager funds and to even be able to pay for that. That's where we're trying to get it accomplished through grants and that sort of thing.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm just thinking
Yeah, no,
if you've raised a lot of money so far,
Yeah.
that could be an incentive for to get the approval, to bring down the overall cost. If is Cass County a member? Could they take the lead on it potentially or?
Ricky is he from,
Yeah, so
yeah.
yeah, Rick Holland is commissioner for Cass County.
yeah.
Know Rick pretty well.
Yeah, they're kind of hoping to be able to get more of it done without trying to do that, just because it is so complicated, having all the multiple parties and all the individual boards would have to approve of that and yeah, it would be really uphill battle, like he said.
Yeah, I could
It's a good
see how-
idea, but yeah, we thought about that and
Could see how it get wonky quick.
yeah,
Yeah, real wonky. So
Yep.
one of the other things that we are doing that I didn't put on here is congressional funding.
yeah.
And so I submitted applications with Mr. Stauber,
Yep.
Senator Smith and Klobuchar.
Yep.
And this year, I believe Stauber wasn't able to help us push it forward, but Senator Smith and Klobuchar still have us on the radar, and they're still gonna push us to see if we can keep getting that pushed through, so.
Yep, that's a good route for sure.
And we're looking at other, as I say, mostly Robert, looking at other potential options too, other, other tribal entities that might be able or willing to help. And it's definitely a good cause. I don't remember on your slide that if you had the Nielsen Foundation amount in there, you did, okay? Because they've pledged that much to it.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So, anybody else have questions? Commissioner Sumner?
Mr. Chair, Robert, thanks for coming. I appreciate you coming over and filling us in about what you do at the Cass Lake Fire Association. I've been on the board for a number of years, and I think this is the first time that I've heard, the work that you guys are doing, aside from what Commissioner Gosvick reports. It seems like you guys are doing a lot of great work over there. But I'm kind of curious. I also have all the volunteer fire departments in my district, and I struggle with trying to figure out how, I can help or we, as the county could help. Because they have the same situations about, their equipment, their buildings, their trucks, they're, outdated. And I mean, we just don't have enough money. I agree with Commissioner Gould about, maybe asking for some bonding, but I mean, there's thousands of volunteer fire departments out there that would probably be lining up the doorstep asking for the same. So I completely understand. So I'm just kind of curious, your association receives funding from each of the townships that go towards the cost to have you guys there to
Yep, to operate our funded fire department.
Yep.
And your formula there, I was trying to understand it,
Yeah,
the
that's a
VEC.
sit down conversation to go through that one.
Well, I would love an opportunity to understand that a little bit more and how you guys operate with, the limited resources that you guys have so I just wanna, again, thank you for coming. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sumner.
Thanks. Yeah, anytime you want to, just reach out and you can set something up. So.
Commissioner Carlson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Chief, is it just you, the only paid full-time staff? Everyone else is volunteer, is that correct?
Correct.
Wow, that's a lot.
And it wasn't that way when I first got on the board, and that was a really good decision. The guys actually were very much behind Chief Jaspers here to become the full-time fire chief. And that's made a huge difference in how the department is ran. And so it's made we wouldn't be doing this with the new fire hall and stuff if we still had, part-time people running it. It's been a credit to having Robert in that role. So.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else have any questions?
Well, maybe next time you won't be so nervous.
Yeah, it's always like,
No, you did great.
oh, thank you.
Thank you, Robert. We appreciate it. And have to get some rest. He's been working with that fire this morning and everything, so he's been out with the guys already. So
Okay. Thank you, amigo.
thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we've got the facilities update with Mr. Shadrick.
Thank you, commissioners. Firefighters and EMT, aren't they great?
Yep.
Pretty awesome people. Say, thank you for letting me visit with you today. I'm here to talk about facilities. I did have Commissioner Gould reach out to me and request that I provide an update on building status and such, and it's a good time, so like to do that. So our mission, obviously, provide clean, comfortable, safe working environments for everybody that occupy our buildings. With our new jail coming online, we will be a little over 450,000 square feet that we manage and maintain. I'm gonna be moving pretty quick through these slides because I got quite a few of them. Please shout out or holler at me if you want to chat further. We lease a fair amount of space within the county. We do have in 2024, we had a little over $1 million of revenue. That's both a combination of outside revenue, typically from state, federal, nonprofit organizations. And then we also do county agencies such as Health and Human Services, Public Task Force, Natural Resource Management. They pay us for the spaces that they're in. A good reason why is because they get rent revenue back from state or federal reimbursement. So currently we have some space, lease space available. We don't have a lot of it, but we do have some. We're still looking at filling some of that from the Community Services Center first floor. And we've got a couple offices over in the historic courthouse. But overall, we
Chair.
rent a lot.
Steve,
Yeah.
who do you think would be ideal possible candidates for the offices in the historic courthouse? How big is that?
We-
417, I guess, but.
Yeah, we, most of our, leases are state, federal, nonprofit, those folks actively, communicate and integrate with county work. So like, for example, Department of Corrections, public defenders, state of Minnesota public defenders, they're always in our courthouse. So generally we like to connect with people that have a vested interest in the work that the county does.
Yeah.
Seems to be a good fit. So that's typically who we, would like to see, rent from us, but we're open.
Okay, thank
So-
you.
Just like a lot of departments, we deal with challenges and everything. One of them is increased costs, aging infrastructure. As you're gonna see in my slides as we move forward here, 25 years ago, we had a pretty good, pretty new campus, I should say. But now we're at that age where we're having to start investing into some big ticket items and stuff, and so with limited revenues, that's always kind of a struggle. Some of the opportunities that we've worked on in the past is in 2022, we had a $65,000 plus rebate from Otter Tail Power. And that was for some of our lighting projects that we had going on that year. We did reach out for historical grants in the past. We have not received any. But we hope to change that. So we will continue to work along those lines to gain grants for our updating of our historical courthouse.
What's that a picture of there?
That is a rooftop unit that's actually on this building here. So that's a heating and cooling unit. Looks like a little house.
That's pretty massive.
It is. The ones on the community services center are about twice that big.
Really?
Yeah, yep. So it really is it'd be like a full, say trailer house type size. So, yeah. Yep. As you know, we do a lot of in-house services to maintain our properties. A lot of things to do, a lot of things to keep up on. So in order to make it safe, comfortable, and clean for our building occupants, tenants, staff. We contract out services. Sometimes we have to contract out mandatory state mandated services. So this is, we do that. This is kind of where I wanted to end up today. Facility condition assessments, okay? We do those annually. Takes me and others generally 1 to 3 days per building to complete one FCA. This information is used basically to review the state of the building and identify what repairs or upgrades are needed, both for immediate and long-term. This is what I use for our budgeting purposes. So this is a massive help during our budget process. We have, as I mentioned, when we do an FCA, we look at everything external on the building, the internal, what the conditions of the walls are, what the finishes look like, if there's any damage to anything. Mechanical systems, we have and have had for the last 15 years an awesome HVAC technician, John Dahl. Yeah, and he runs a very strict preventive maintenance program for HVAC and allows us to really know what our systems are doing, how long we're going to be able to keep those systems for, and that type of thing. But we look at all that stuff, electrical systems, and then obviously the outside grounds. So
Is John Dahl a contracted person or is he an employee?
he is an employee. Yep, yep. Went to
He's got
tech.
certifications and stuff with the equipment we have.
Oh, yeah, yep. Went to tech school for HVAC, worked out of a service van for 9-10 years. Been here at the county 14-15 years now. So yeah, he is an excellent service technician and a hard worker. So he makes, he keeps me updated on all the HVAC stuff, and so that's extremely helpful, so. And as I mentioned, the FCA works really in conjunction with the preventive maintenance program, just because we know what the condition of the equipment is. And so that allows us to put the information from the FCA, tie it to the preventive maintenance program, and provide outcomes. It then allows us to rate the building. Okay, we have 4 different ratings that we like to use. everything from excellent to poor. Excellent would be, 15 years ago, we had a lot of excellent buildings. They were like new. Because our campus is now getting 20, 25 years old now for a bulk of our buildings. So we're not seeing that excellent rating as much anymore. Most of our buildings are in the good rating. Structurally sound, aesthetically pleasing. Maintenance is being conducted with minimal maintenance being deferred. So the maintenance is getting done when it should be getting done. That's what we like to see. A fair rating is pretty much the same, except for it's really based on it's possibly an older building, maybe not as updated. It could use a little more updating, that type of thing. Still structurally sound, mostly aesthetically pleasing. And our last one is a poor, where you might have possible structural issues. It's no longer really aesthetically pleasing anymore, a little higher level of deferred maintenance. It's generally an older building. Some systems in it have failed or are currently failing, and the potential need for extensive repairs. We have one of those buildings. I'll be going over that in a minute. Yep.
When you talked about the buildings, age of our buildings right here in this campus, you said they're about 20, 25 years old. When they were built, do you remember what sort of specifications were they built to, like a 50-year standard, a 75-year standard? Is there any?
Well, the big thing is the maintenance. Keep water out of a building. Maintain your equipment. And I mean, you could add another 25 years just like that by just doing that, just maintaining that equipment. Now, obviously, you're going to have to upgrade infrastructure, and that's what we'll see here today. But, if a building is maintained properly, these type of buildings that we see, 75, 100 years, so it's not unheard of or nothing like that. It's really should be in
And this board has to worry.
should be. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But again, that comes with investments and making sure that we're doing the right things at the right time and stuff, so. All right, so we're just gonna jump into the different buildings here. I won't go through everything for every building, but it's just to kind of get you updated as to where we're at with different things. The historic courthouse, it's 123 years old. Given the age of it, it's still in pretty good condition. We actually have a lift outside today, and it's been outside for about 2 weeks now. We're caulking the exterior windows and doors of that building. So the last couple of years, we've been doing tuck pointing and brick replacement repairs. Are we done with it? No. That building is a continuous. So that's where that historical grant really should take place. So.
What is tuck pointing?
Tuck pointing is that grout, that mortar joint in between the bricks.
Okay.
So it's that, it can be multiple different colors, but it typically a dark gray or, but yeah, that right in between the bricks, yeah. So you get cracking and deterioration in there, water gets in there, and that's a bad thing, so. All right, our annex building, it's 51 years old. It's in good shape. We're actually doing roof replacement on it right now. I got roofers on it right now, replacing that. So we have a few things coming up in 27 and 28 that we want to do. But nothing out of the norm on that building. It's a good solid building. Highway building, this is our problem child. So the office section, that section was remodeled back in 2012. Okay, so the office area, that's in good shape, good condition. The shop, that's where our problem is. We have one building that is in poor shape, and that's the shop. So, at least the buildings that I manage. I don't know about solid waste. I think that's probably pretty tough building out there, but I think they're doing remodeling on that now. But, the shop, I guess this is where I would emphasize, we need to focus on getting some, getting this building remodeled, getting it, redone. I think that 2027, Bruce has bargained, the engineer and myself is we're trying to see if we can make that happen at that time. Go ahead, Scott. Commissioner.
Thank you. You're talking about like just the one garage on the front side that's on Adams Avenue, basically?
So, yeah.
Not the big garage space in the back, right?
It's the whole 200 and some 50 foot, 230 foot, by 80 some foot section. So there's a number of issues with it. Again, it's 51 years old. There has not been a lot of maintenance put into it over the years on the shop part of it. It's seen a lot of rough stuff. You got salt trucks coming in, a lot of deterioration of the floor because of the salts. A lot of different things. The roof has been in need of replacement for 3-4 years now. We've just been kind of cobbling that along until we can figure out what we want to do for a plan. Drain piping under the concrete, that's deteriorating. We were already had to tear up some of it. So we're having some issues with that. HVAC, we keep kind of, repairing that as we can, as we need to, I should say. Yeah, we have some concerns in that building as far as, needing to get it back up to par. A few years ago, we saw some, shifting taking place in the building. And so I brought in a structural engineer. It was determined that everything is safe, so there's no issue with that or anything. But it is affecting the way our garage doors open up. It's affecting, putting cracks in our CMU, concrete masonry units, our concrete block walls. We're seeing a shifting and cracking and stuff, and so, we need to address that. So that is.
Mr. Chair, thanks. So I know that the highway department came and presented maybe a year or two ago about, the situation. So maybe this could be a future work meeting topic. I'm just kind of curious to find out if we could use some of the sales tax money towards making improvements to the shop. I know it's not road related, but I mean, it is kind of it is a need. So maybe we can have some sort of discussion about possibly putting the shop on the list of projects that possibility. Just wondering if that is a possibility.
Commissioner Summer, I think that Bruce has said that it is possible to do that. Just that we've always prioritized the road projects and that, but at some point, we're gonna have to pay the piper and get the building up to speed. I think I remember Bruce mentioning that there are issues with not only the physical shape of the building, but also just the bigger graders and trucks and stuff, it not having the depths and having to park things outside and work on certain things outside. And in the winter, that's less than desirable if you were the one working on it. So I think that is something that we need to look at prioritizing.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the other factors too.
Yep.
That all the new equipment's bigger and
Yep.
just won't fit in the deal. We have, the pavement around the facility. If people would come and take a look at that, they'd probably enjoy the roads a little more. 'Cause it's pretty rough. So yeah, there's a number of things going on there that we really need to address coming up here pretty soon. So you'll see more of that from probably Bruce and I on that, but. Jail, 37 years old, I rated it as a fair, condition. I rated it as the same as what Cross Anderson did. Cross Anderson, you probably know that they did a FCA on this, building as well. And we're working with the architects to identify solutions on what might happen with that existing jail. And so we really don't have any capital projects planned, for this facility, at this time, just because of the unknowns. So. Community Services Center, 27 years old. There again, it's in good rating. This is one area where we do have a massive, cost, if you look on the right side, 2026, right under future projects. On my budget this year, I did submit for 2 rooftop units to be replaced. Now, these were the rooftop units that are massively large. This is a 74,000 square foot building. We originally had gotten quotes, and it was $630,000 originally. We had an engineering firm come in, and they gave another estimate at $850,000. And then as of last week, we got an updated detailed information or estimate from our engineers from EAPC that are currently working on the design for that rooftop replacement project. And they valued it as 1.3 million. So it has just significantly got astronomically grown. So that will be something that we will probably struggle with in the budget committee this year a little bit, I would guess. So it can be staged, it can be done in multiple years, but it is a concern, so. All right, we're wrapping up here. Law Enforcement Center, 21 years old. It's in good shape. We do have some things coming up, but nothing out of the ordinary. This year, this building admin, same thing, good shape, nothing out of the ordinary on this, just normal maintenance. Judicial Center, that's 19 years, and again, it's in good shape, so. Diane, how am I doing on time here? I'm about out.
We're close to done, but.
Okay.
Go finish up.
I'll just only take just a couple minutes here. I just wanted to let the board know that, I'm starting to see, and this has been something that's been done for many years with bigger organizations. And I think we really need to step into that, master planning mode, that involves a lot of other people than just myself and my staff. I think we need to, actually have a planning committee, that, I don't know what Ann Linseth from Health and Human Services is gonna want, 10 years from now. She might know that. I don't know what Bruce is gonna want. He might know that. It's hard to estimate that, but we really should get their input. So I do want to form a committee, develop some long-term planning, make it more strategic, give me some direction as the facilities director as to where I should be heading, that type of thing. Making sure we're meeting the county's goals and the values. And we're supporting our departments as we need to. And also making sure that we have the financial resources that we need to sustain our buildings and facilities, so. Some of the things that some of the folks that we could have on this committee would simply be, involving those that might be, represent larger departments. Those that have specialty resources that deal with, they might have all their equipment in one facility and yet they work out of another facility. Does that make sense? That type of thing. Logistically, is that a good thing or not? I think we should have those conversations. And then financial direction, obviously we get that from our auditors department or possibly administration. So that might be something that, I don't know if Tom wants to be involved in this or not, or board members do or not, but it would certainly be something that could be optional as well, so. But I do think that, this is something that we should be involved in, and having a countywide master planning. So that's it. Sorry it took longer.
Oh,
than
no, that's
expected.
fine, Steve. We appreciate it. Anybody have any other questions? Commissioner Sumner?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thanks. So, Steve, I know that you do a great job of trying to make sure that our buildings are, up to standards. But I'm kind of curious. I know that this boardroom here is, has some security features in it that might protect us. Just kind of curious, have you checked to see if everything is working properly. How's your safety plan? The safety of other buildings, are they okay? Just kind of curious.
Yeah, good question, Commissioner. We're always working on, making sure the systems that are in place are functionable. We just did, when I say we, I shouldn't say we, the sheriff's department, the bailiff's division, they test all the panic devices, they test the cameras that tie to panic devices, that type of thing. During, annual safety training this year, a couple months back, I brought in the sheriff's department and we showed all the county employees how to operate the panic devices, what to expect, when to activate a panic device, that type of thing. What cameras will be associated with panic devices. So the sheriff's department, when a button is pulled, it pulls up pictures, of the nearest cameras to that device. So dispatch can direct, officers in the right spot and such. Yes, and as you mentioned, there are some security and safety features that are in place for the county board as well. And it's probably a good idea that we look at updating everybody on that, probably at a later date and stuff. We can, work through that and stuff. But yes, we do have some rules in place and be more than happy to review that with everybody. So.
Mayor Gosvick.
Yep, go ahead.
Just
Commissioner Gould.
real quick, I know Tom usually provides an update. He's gone today, on if there's anything with the current jail. Any significant updates since our last meeting about that from Design Operations Committee, or anybody have anything? Steve or?
Commissioner Carlson on the
Well, yeah,
operations.
Steve was on vacation last meeting.
Oh, yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, I'm still playing catch up, so.
No, they're progressing, rather rapidly on the foundation, and, the schedule for starting to set walls is still.
I'm sorry, I meant the current jail.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we spent about an hour and a half on the new jail, and then we spent about 2 hours on the old jail working through. The real trick there is, how do we get the Sally port, and how's that gonna work? So I think, there's a number of ideas that, Klein McCarthy came up with, regarding using existing, regarding using part of the existing, tearing down, rebuilding a new Sally port. So we're still working through that, and we're hoping that by end of the summer, we'll have a recommendation for the board. So that's kind of where we're at time-wise. We're trying to make sure we take our time and get it right, get the right information. So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Gould and Carlson. Anybody else have any questions for Steve? All right, thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
And we are on to the Bemidji State University Stormwater Project that Brent is gonna come and update us on the big gopher mound over by John Glass Fieldhouse.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. We knew that the project was gonna start construction like any day. And then one day driving by, there's this massive earth pile and like, wow, they've started fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quick kind of funny story. The director of facilities at BSU started getting so many phone calls and started asking like, hey, we got to put something out there. And so we put some press releases out, we put stuff in the paper, we put stuff online and whatever, but he was getting so sick of the calls, he started telling people, yeah, we're building a water park. So it was kind of funny. He told a few people that, but no, it's not a water park. It's a stormwater project. So kind of just quick history. This project specifically started back over 10 years ago. The county and the Mississippi Headwaters Board partnered to evaluate the city of Bemidji. The Mississippi Headwaters Board had a grant to look at the larger cities on the upper Mississippi headwaters, looking at stormwater retrofit analysis. We hired an engineer, did a study on what the polluting loads are into the lakes and what we can do about them, and looking at cost benefit. This is one of the projects that was at the very top of the list. We didn't do it 10 years ago because every grant that we would apply for, everywhere we went to find funding, required like a 25 to 50% match. and BSU didn't have the money to spend on it. So fast forward to today, we do have grants to pay for it, and we actually partnered with Enbridge Energy to provide the match for our grant. And then we're putting together 6 different grant funding sources for this project. The 4 of the other grants don't require a match. So it's been a long time coming. It's been a lot work, long time. I just kind of put together a list of partners. So the county, SWCD, BSU, the city of Bemidji, and Enbridge Energy, and those are listing out the different funding sources for the project. And I put the Clean Water Land and Legacy Amendment on there. All the funds that you see on that list, other than Enbridge, are Clean Water Land and Legacy Amendment funds of some kind. If you look at this map on the left, I don't know if you can see number 15, the diamond point on the left. That is, so these are like catchment basins in the city of Bemidji stormwater system. The red is like stuff that we should target, the watersheds that we should target. The green says, yeah, there's sufficient treatment there. The blue is, those are not contributing to anything to the lakes directly. Those are all going into the ground. So as you can see around Lake Bemidji, 15 is kind of the big highlight one that was left untreated. The other ones, there have been projects on and off in different capacities. The one on the right is kind of a map of that number 15. And the blue lines in there show the existing stormwater infrastructure from the city of Bemidji's GIS online. So their pipes, you can see, go right underneath BSU's buildings out to Diamond Point. It drains that whole area across Irvin and then, or I'm sorry, across Paul Bunyan Drive and all of Paul Bunyan Drive into that area. And it's a lot of water comes through there. It's 92 acres, roughly, a drainage area. Project began May 27th. They were planned for completion on June 20th. I know they lost one day in there. The state of Minnesota came up and said, hey, you don't have a stormwater permit. And there was some confusion on so that was a frustrating day. But project was designed by Moore Engineering from here in town with other engineering outsourcing in their company. They're a big company. Casper Construction is doing the construction work. It's the same construction company that's doing the land construction stuff for the jail. They were able to bring costs down for this project because they're already here. So that was a good win there. City of Bemidji has committed to maintaining the system in the future, even though it's on BSU's property. So it took a long time, surprisingly, to work through the details of that arrangement and that agreement. The system is designed to capture the first 1 to 2 inches of rain in a 24-hour period, depending on the velocity or the speed of the rainfall. Obviously, if it's a heavy dump, it'll be an inch or something like that. If it's a nice gentle rain, it'll probably take more than 2 inches over 24 hours. But the additional rain, anything over that, will continue on in the existing stormwater system back out to Diamond Point Park like it did before. The design will reduce about 58 pounds of phosphorus a year. The One Watershed, One Plan, the Mississippi Headwaters Watershed, we've kind of talked a bunch about that. The 10-year goal is about 200 pounds of phosphorus removal from Lake Bemidji. This is about 25% of that goal that we're doing in one project. So this is a huge project. And then I just threw this in at the end. 1 pound of phosphorus, they say average in good conditions makes about 500 pounds of algae. So you imagine the significant algae bloom difference that there should be in Lake Bemidji after this project is in place. This is a drawing of the site itself. I just did this based on just rough guess. I put the red line is about where the current stormwater pipe is. The blue box is about where the underground stormwater treatment basin will be when it's all said and done. And then this is what the site looked like at the pre-construction meeting before construction. And this is what it looks like looking to the north from the side street, kind of just a few days after they started, really. They had a pretty big hole in the ground. The bottom area of treatment is about 200 by 80 feet. And it's got about 12 inches of rock put on the bottom. And then on top of that, there's these 3-foot tall chambers. They're like 33 inches tall. And they'll run the whole length of the bed you'll see. And then they'll get covered in rock with another I don't remember if it's another 4 inches of rock on top of those, and then a geotextile fabric, and then all the dirt material back on it. This treatment system will be about 12 feet underground. It's all finished. They're down to the other end after a couple of days. And this is, looking kind of northeast. The pipe you see in the bottom of the picture is the concrete city stormwater pipe. And the manhole looking thing at the bottom is exactly that. That's where the stormwater will be diverted. Once they break that concrete pipe, they'll be diverting the stormwater into that basin, and then they'll reconnect it on the other end, on the downhill side of it. So, pretty cool projects happening really fast. This is them backfilling it in. They've got, yesterday when I was there, it was probably about 2/3 filled already. So, and then I threw this in at the end. This is my last slide. This is what the site looked like in 1976. The reason I put this in there, there's no Gillette Rec Center. There's a few less buildings on BSU campus. There's a few less things in Bemidji. But people ask sometimes, like, why do these projects cost so much? And why are you doing these projects now? Why didn't they just get done whenever it was developed? But we got to remember, like, this development happened 60 years ago or 80 years ago or whatever. And now we're fixing things. And it's more expensive to fix things. It's a lot cheaper to do it up front and design for it and plan for it, but plans change over time, and then we have to adapt and we learn new stuff over time. So I just thought it was pretty interesting to kind of historical perspective a little bit there. So, and that's all I have. We just wanted to give you an update on a pretty cool, significant, big project in our area that we're all partnering and working on. So if you have any questions, I'm here.
Any
Otherwise-
question for Brent?
Brent,
Go ahead, Commissioner
Chair.
Gould.
If you go back to the two maps slide, would you agree that there's a need for the western part of the city limits there? 7, 9, 11, 12, 13, are there any projects in the works for those areas?
Yeah, we've been talking with the city engineer about potential projects for that. Our One Watershed One plan, we've budgeted a significant amount of money for urban stormwater projects over the next 10 years. We're partnering with the city of Bemidji. We don't have any identified right now. With this, we did a big project on the southeast side of Lake Irving, and then this one is another big one that we've done. And then now we're kind of waiting for the city and partnering on what they want to do next too. So there's nothing in the works, but that is definitely stuff we've been talking about, like what should be next.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other commissioners have any questions for Brent? Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And that brings up our transportation improvement plan from Bruce Hasbergen, our county highway engineer.
Good afternoon, commissioners.
Bruce, how much did you have to pay Steve to bring up the?
I definitely owe him. I have a draft 5-year plan for you. Again, it is draft. The official plan would be adopted along with the budget in December. So we do have some time to take a look at this and review the projects. I hope to have a road tour in October to kind of see our current projects and future projects also. So, but at this time, I wanted to get this draft 5-year plan in front of you.
Did you print it in bigger form?
No, sorry.
Oh, you usually do that.
Sorry, I did not print out 11 by 17 sheets for you. You'll have to listen carefully as I go through the projects and or zoom in afterwards when you're looking through them. On the attachment, I use the colors to highlight the changes. Yellow is new and orange is just change a year in the plan. So first for 2026, we do have 3 projects that I would like to add. It is a mill and overlay on County Road 305, Arkansas 1, which is up by Grigla. Marshall County takes care of that one for us. That's a shared road on the county line. They take care of it for us and they are hoping to do a mill and overlay next year. And so that would be our share of that project. And then the bike trail out to from the high school out to Gene Dillon was a new project, a grant that we received. So those would be 3 new projects. The 2 In orange would be our project on 20, the north side of the lake. That would move from this year to next year. We've been working on that one. And then our pedestrian bike trail out on the scenic highway, that one keeps getting pushed forward, and we're still trying to work through that, the issues with that one, but so those all changed. So really the only project that stayed in that year was our project on 2022. And that one we're getting ready to advertise here later this summer. And so that is one of the items I have with this draft 5-year plan is and I do have it on the consent agenda. Hopefully the board will support it, but I would like to include the County Road 305 project with that 22 project. It is adjacent to, ties into 22. And with letting it this year, I would need approval from the board to go ahead and have that project in the 5-year plan because it's not there right now. So I guess that's one thing I am asking is approval from the board to add 305 to the 5-year plan.
I don't remember, is there any estimated cost savings by doing it in conjunction with the other project or any off the cuff thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why we would be doing it is we would do it with that adjacent project. So we
Right.
would be getting cost savings with again, the paving of 22 and pave 305 at the same time.
Mhm.
So that's, I guess, why I'm asking to include it.
Right.
Yes, it can be done as a standalone project, but there would be some cost savings. I don't know, again, really
Don't have an
what
idea.
that
off
would
the-
be at this time, but going forward into 27, all those projects stay the same. We have a resurfacing project on 32 and on 16. I also have in there our shop project. This was the mechanics part of the shop that I have in there. And then hopefully some dollars that can help address all the other things that Steve has on his list there. We hope to go out and get an architect under contract here this summer to start taking a look at and come up with what that project would entail. But that project can use our county state aid funds, and we also included it in our list for the local option sales tax. So it's already in there. So those two options for funding is available to us. Then the project I would like to add is Spirit Avenue. This is in Wilton. It's kind of the frontage road. It is our CASA 14, and with us doing work on number 16 nearby, again, room in the budget, so I guess I'm suggesting that we add doing that, just a resurfacing project there in Wilton. The other new project I had spoke to the board about is a new grant that we got for signpost sheeting, so a red strip that goes down below a stop sign and or a yellow strip underneath yield signs. We got that, was awarded that grant here last year, last winter sometime.
That to do all of them in the entire county, Bruce, or, okay, I was gonna say that's a lot of money for just some stickers.
And it's not just, it's actually a district-wide project. We're working with other counties. This would be our portion of it. And it is not every stop sign, but it's on the select routes that are highlighted on a county road safety plan.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not every, sorry,
Okay,
it's not every stop sign, but it is across the.
major
across the
connectors,
county.
minor connectors, that kind of thing.
Yep. 2028, similar projects stayed in there. Again, a resurfacing on 32, resurfacing on 13, resurfacing on 11. That's in front of the county highway shop. We have the roundabout on 6 and 11. The project that has changed and moved into 28 is Lakewood Avenue. This is CASA 42. Again, I talked to the board about that. We received a grant, and that grant was for 28. So that actually moves that project from 29 to 28. So it's a project we have in the plan, just moved. The big change is in 2029. And the reason being, we had a large project out in our last 5 years, and that was the 42, but also the project on 21, which is Bemidji Avenue. from the corner of 197 up to just past Ann Street, Annabelle. And I wanted to put that in the 5-year plan as a kind of a placeholder so we could go out there and apply for grants. We've applied for 3 different grants and have been unsuccessful. And so I want to keep pushing that project, that 21, out in that 5th year in our plan. So that opens up some room in the 4th year of this plan in 2029. And so you will see that there are quite a few projects listed in yellow there. In 29, we had already had resurfacing on 23. It's on the south side of Red Lake, and a couple of projects on some streets in Kellier. But adding to 29, I guess I would like to add number 11. That is, forget the name of it, Car Lake Road, but it is down in the industrial park. So from 197 over to R50. 25, we would be resurfacing. That goes south off of number 8 down to R4. 46, that is Oak Hills Road. It's not that last little leg that we rebuilt here a while back, but this would be the other 5 miles from 71 going west towards Oak Hills. Also have resurfacing on 43 and 31. Those are the old Trunk Highway 71 alignments in the Hines and 10 strike areas. And then also 27 from 20 up to 22. 23, we would do a mill and overlay from 29 up to 32. And then County Road 401, which is from that Oak Hills Road going south down to the county line. A lot of projects. There was a lot of dollars available. And so these really potentially could be the last of our roads in poor shape. So happy to say if we can get out there to that point. Again, other roads are going to continue to fall down, but those roads that are right now currently in poor shape on our list are being addressed in 2029. And then lastly, 2030, just moving those projects 2021 into 2030. And then also it's, excuse me, CASA 54, that is a shared section with Cass County. They've got actually the legs on both sides of ours. It is in the very, very southeast corner of the county. And they are, again, kind of moving that project further down the time frame. So just keeping it in the 5-year plan and moving that back to the 5th year. So that's what I have proposed at this time. Again, you can take comments now and anytime, all the way up to you guys approve it in December. But I guess I would like to, again, put that plug in for that consent agenda item of including County Road 305 at this time, just so we can move forward with that project. Again, it'll be done next year, as per this, but we would be looking to design, advertise, and get it on our contract this year with our 22 project.
Commissioner Sumner?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So that 305 project that is already on, is that already in the consent, or are you asking it be included?
It's in there. Yep.
Okay.
It's in there now.
Okay. A couple more things. So you just mentioned by 2029, we should be done with the last of the poor roads. It sounds, we've come a long ways from when we first started, doing this, the road projects, and it sounds like you're working me out of a job here, Bruce.
Best phone calls, hopefully.
But I had a question about Highway 89. I was going home the other day from the management team meeting, and there was a truck that just pulled out of the shooting sports park there. I noticed that there wasn't a stop sign. I'm not too sure if it requires a stop sign or not, but on the way home, I was looking at, all these public access roads, and most of them had stop signs. And I was kind of curious who I would inquire about for that.
I can take a look into it. I can check with Shane. That isn't official county road, but it is a road that accesses the county parks. But A good spot for a stop sign if it doesn't have one.
Yeah, I don't think it's technically designated a road. It's more like a private drive, I
Yeah.
think, but it's certainly probably should be
Not a
looked
good-
at. That's a good point.
I'll check
Commissioner
into it.
Anything else, Commissioner Sumner? Oh, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Bruce? Otherwise, to be continued on this. All right. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
And yeah, really. Now under a Title 4E Legal Enhancement and Advocacy for Families Program, the LEAF program. Ann is here to fill us in about LEAF.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ann Linseth, Director of Health and Human Services, and I'll try to be quick with my presentation here today. This is a revenue producing program, so I'll just quickly do an overview, and then there is a Title 4E agreement in the consent agenda that is related to this. So again, I'm here to provide information regarding the Legal Enhancement and Advocacy for Families program, which I'm going to call LEAF from here on out. The LEAF program provides access to federal Title 4E funds to reimburse counties for a percentage of costs associated with providing public defender representation. So primarily, the case types that are eligible for this program are cases that are related to child welfare. In your packet, I provided a 2-page informational sheet that was done by the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. And that outlines that the reimbursements are for eligible costs to provide attorneys to parents. The cost to provide public defenders is the responsibility of the county. And so this program would help to recoup some of those costs through reimbursements. So we county staff have done some research around the program. We've also attended an informational meeting with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families to learn more about the program and the administrative oversight that's required for the program. And the first step in moving forward to receive those reimbursements is to have an authorized Title 4E agreement between the county departments that are involved in that reimbursement process. So we do have that draft agreement in the consent agenda. Once we execute that agreement, if the board does sign off on that, then the departments would start to work together to collaborate around submitting those reimbursable costs to the state agency. It is quite a collaborative effort. There are a number of county departments that are required to be involved in order to make it work. We would be working with the court staff, the county administrative office, our county auditor's office, our county attorney's office, and of course, Health and Human Services staff. The program does have to be independently operated outside of the Health and Human Services office because we are considered the Title 4E agency for the county. And that's why we have the agreement between departments so that we can work together and share information to submit to the state. So once we get that Title 4E agreement signed off, then we will work on our processes to establish how we do that administrative work to submit for reimbursements. There are only 8 counties who are utilizing this program in the state of Minnesota currently, and we would like to be added to that list. And this is a program that will help support bringing additional revenue into the county system. So with that, do you have any questions?
Commissioner Carlson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Ann, what kind of analysis do you have to do to figure out if the benefit outweighs the cost of having to do all this collaboration internally?
Well, we have done some limited cost analysis. Some other counties who are receiving reimbursements are receiving significant reimbursements related to their costs. There is a pretty complicated formula on how we get the reimbursements back, and it's based on our Title 4E ratio, which looks at our number of Title 4E eligible cases over the last 6 quarters at any given time. So the reimbursement rates can change depending on what that Title 4E ratio is. But we do have a significant number of child welfare cases in Beltrami County. So we do anticipate that the administrative work will be worth the administrative burden of the program.
Commissioner Gould?
Yeah, just one more time, if you could give an example or two, what exactly are the reimbursements for? Is it staff wages, mileage, attorney's fees? Does it go to the families or does it go to the county? Just, I need a little more learning here.
Sure, the reimbursement is for the cost of the public defenders. So the county is required to cover the costs of public defenders in certain case types, and child welfare being one of those case types. And so this program looks at the costs of the public defender time spent on those cases, and then uses the Title 4E ratio to determine a reimbursement percentage of those costs.
Thank you.
Good question. Thank you, Commissioner.
Anybody else have any questions? Commissioner Sumner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So is this something similar to what Red Lake might be doing, or? 'Cause I know that they have a pretty robust, 4E program, and I'm just kind of curious about that.
I don't know if I can speak directly to what Red Lake is doing. There are a number of reimbursements that are related to 4E cases. So Health and Human Services is reimbursed a percentage of placement costs related to 4E cases, but that is a separate program than this particular program.
Anything else? Thanks, Ann.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
the
you,
update.
Commissioners.
Thank you.
And we're on to the CHA chip with our Public Health Administrator, Amy Bowles. She's got the hot mic.
Good evening, Commissioners. I come before you tonight as your Public Health Director, but also as your Community Health Services Administrator. Next July, in July, we will be having our next CHB meeting to look for your blessing to approve the publication and submission of our CHA chip to the state of MDH and to our community. So you do have before you in your packet, the draft as it stands. I have found some technical errors in that I'm already planning on making changes to. But what I'm really looking for feedback from our CHB and our county commissioners is we're responsible for submitting this to the state, saying that this is the findings of the health of our county and our community and of our people. And then these are the things that we plan to do to improve that health. So the newest addition to the back of your booklet, you're going to find our 4 primary health areas that we want to focus on over the next 5 years. This is a living document, so these are always changeable, right? We'll continue to meet and talk about how we're doing to meet these strategic goals, how we're measuring them, if we need to make adjustments to them, and maybe some of them aren't achievable and some of them we achieve right away, and we can kind of check them off and just keep monitoring how we're doing. So what I'm asking from the 5 of you, if you could take the next 2 weeks to go ahead and review this document and submit to me any changes or additions or things that you would like added or removed from the booklet. If you find grammatical corrections, just send them to me by June 30th, and then I will have them back to you in this completed form for the July 15th board, CHB meeting.
I really like the picture on page 4. So we had an
I-
excellent photographer that day.
Glad she put the one in there when she was with us.
Right, yes,
Yeah.
right.
I did not choose the pictures, Pinnacle Marketing did. That's the other addition that you'll see on the back. So I want to give a shout out to all our community partners and agencies and different stakeholders that have put time into reviewing the document, helping make the document, in addition to the individuals that are listed in the front of the booklet. And I'd probably be remiss if I didn't thank our community members, because we had 580 responses to our community survey. That's the most we've ever had in the history of completing a CHA chip. So their voice was heard and it was put into this booklet, and now we're going to put some action plans in place. Any questions for me?
Any other questions? No, my first review of it, I haven't gone through to do any grammatical correcting yet, but I'm notorious for that, but
Yeah.
I like the format of it, and I think you've done a great job. Hopefully we'll go through and give you all any suggestions or give you the blessing on it at our next meeting, or is that first or second meeting in July that we're
The
gonna?
second meeting,
second
July
meeting?
15th.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
2 o'clock if we don't have or if we have a full work session, but then we move it forward closer to 3 o'clock if we don't have enough on the work session.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I know there's another event happening that days that, so we might try to push it to 3 o'clock if possible, but we'll stay tuned.
Okay.
Thank
Sounds
you,
good.
Amy.
Looks nice, Amy.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right, get Prime West and the health and Prime Health updates.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Matt Magnuson. I'm the Director of Member and Provider Services at Prime West Health and serve the same role for Prime Health. Today's meant to be informational, so stop me if you guys have any questions as we go through here. I'll kind of explain both of the organizations. We'll start out with Prime West Health. Prime West Health is a health plan that Beltrami County owns. It serves Medicaid members and also members that have Medicare, but they also have that Medicaid component. So our most vulnerable residents of the counties, Beltrami County became a member of Prime West Health in 2008. So kind of, can I quit with it or you need? Oh, there it worked. All right, cool. So, just what is Prime West Health? Again, it's a joint powers entity. Today, it's 24 counties that own Prime West Health. We've expanded over time. We started out as 10 counties. Beltrami, Clearwater, and Hubbard counties joined in 2008. That's when we started serving members. And then most recently in 2023, we added an additional 11 counties. So our geography really kind of goes from the northern part of the state up here. Beltrami County is our northernmost county, all the way down to Pipestone, Minnesota. So really the western half of Minnesota. The purpose of Prime West Health was it exists to help our members achieve healthier, fuller lives. That's what we're all about. So we think about serving the most vulnerable residents of a county. Prime West Health provides the health care for that. So we pay all the providers. So our responsibility is paying providers. Just a little history here. So this is Beltrami County's numbers for Prime West enrollment. Right now we're looking at kind of our total enrollment. The green line to orientate to this. The green line at the top is the previous 12 months. So the purple boxes go back 12 months. The green line is the 12 months prior to that. So you can see there's been quite a decline in enrollment. That has specifically to do with the unwinding of the public health emergency. So during COVID, our enrollment actually expanded up to about 64,000 total members. Today, we're right around 51,000 members. We serve members in 6 programs. So medical assistance, that's the MA there. That would be families and children. By far our biggest program. The majority of them are children in that program. So of the 40,000 members in that program, about 25,000 of them are kids, 18 and under. And then the rest you have would be families in there. Minnesota Care, the next program over, is a program that's specific to Minnesota. It's for members who maybe are working, but aren't getting insurance through their employer. They pay a small premium to the state of Minnesota, then they can become eligible for that program and get covered. The next program over is called Minnesota Senior Care Plus, MSC Plus. That would be a program for seniors. It integrates their Medicaid and their waivered services together. So waivered services are those things that seniors qualify for to help keep them in their home or help them with activities of daily living. The next program, Minnesota Senior Health Options, MSHO. Again, seniors 65 and over. The unique part about that program is those members also have Medicare through Prime West. So I talked about us having Medicaid and Medicare. We have a couple programs that we integrate so a member doesn't have multiple cards. Medicare pays for some services, Medicaid pays for some services. They might have a separate Part D card. In Minnesota, we have these integrated plans that allow a member to easily access their care. So they're carrying around one card, all their services are covered, makes it easier for the member. SNBC, Special Needs Basic Care, is for members that are between 18 and 64 with a disability. So their qualification to get on public programs is because of their disability. That program also has a dual option. So some of those members qualify for Medicare. They can enroll in that program. If they don't qualify for Medicare yet or don't have Medicare, then they're in the SNBC non-dual program. So those are kind of the basics of the programs. But you can see from those numbers, we're just under 50,000 members in May, or just over 50,000 members in May, and the vast majority of them are coming from that medical assistance group. So our families, our children are the people that we're primarily covering in your area. This is Beltrami County specifically. So of that 50,000, how many members are in Beltrami County? You can see there, just under 10,000 members come out of Beltrami County. So a lot of members come from this county. I have the program breakouts there. You can see that. You can see the slope of how your enrollment has changed over time. And then we also try to highlight some of the major cities and where some of the members are coming from. So this program in most of our counties, and Beltrami County is very similar, about 1 in 4 members, 1 in 4 residents of a county at some point will be in public programs. So you're talking about 25, 30% when we look across our area. So as commissioners, we're touching a lot of people as a part of Prime West Health. This is a lot of the residents of our county that we're serving through this program. New to Prime West Health in 2023 also brought competition. So we used to be the only plan that could serve members in our counties. It was a part of how the state set up the rule originally. If counties were going to do this, counties got to decide who they wanted to cover, which plans they wanted to offer. In 2023, they changed that a little bit and they brought in a new plan, but you can see here, Prime West still stacks up really well against the competing plan in this county. The majority of people, I think it's about, when I look across all programs, about 90% of all the members are still enrolled in Prime West Health. Why was Prime West kind of started in the beginning? What are our founding principles? The big thing here was that counties wanted kind of that self-determination and local control of this resource that was designed to help the most vulnerable residents of a county. So in 1997, the state of Minnesota was rolling this thing out called managed care, where instead of the state paying directly for everybody's health care, which is called fee for service, the state everybody just got a state Medicaid card. Members would go to the provider, the state would pick up the bill. The state wanted to contract with health plans. And a lot of rural counties were concerned at the time, if they contract with only metro-based providers, what are they going to know about our rural areas? And so counties in Minnesota actually sued the state of Minnesota back then in the late 90s to have the ability to do this. And so with the help of AMC and counties, there was a special law that was passed that was called county-based purchasing that allows counties to do this. So we have our own set of statutes that say counties can become a health plan. We have to meet all the requirements of every other health plan. We have to operate just like a health plan. We have all the same federal and state checks as a health plan, but the difference is that we're county owned. The reason they became joint powers is because a lot of counties weren't big enough to kind of manage the risk on their own. You have 10,000 members here in Beltrami County, but we have some counties that have 800 members total that'll be covered in some of the smaller counties. What do we do? Again, our goal is to ensure that members have access to the care they need. So in Minnesota, in medical assistance, the states and the federal government set the set of benefits. So we can't cover fewer benefits than what the state tells us we need to cover. We can always cover more, but we can never cover less. So people are always worried, like, if counties get into this, are they going to cut benefits to try and save money? And we can't do that. We have to offer the same set of benefits as everybody else would always have, but we can offer more. And the difference is the big thing that counties want to make sure of is that we make sure we contract with every local provider that's available. The idea behind this is it should be an economic development engine too. How do we make sure we protect our local providers? We all decide to live out here in rural Minnesota. How do we make sure that the providers that we're going and visiting are going to be around? And when you take 25% of the population that's going to be covered by these programs, we make sure that we contract with any willing and able qualified provider locally. We also try to reimburse local providers more. Those providers that are located within our county borders, we try to give them a higher reimbursement rate than they would have got under the old Medicaid fee-for-service system, than what they were getting paid just directly from the state. We're responsible for credentialing providers, making sure that they're all qualified, making sure they all have licenses to do that. We have to make sure that there's quality and access and safety. We do everything in-house at Prime West too. We have our own customer service, our member call center, our provider call centers, they're calling us directly. It's a big difference that you pick up the back of your insurance card now, call your customer service line, you're gonna end up in some IVR system somewhere, bounce around from place to place, person to person. At Prime West, when a member calls us, they get a live person every time. Last year, the call center was about 16 seconds to reach a live agent in that call center. Again, it's about how do we make sure that we're helping the people that we serve. One of the bullets on here is ensuring financial stability. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to emphasize that whole thing about, I don't know how many of you get frustrated when you call into some big organization and it says press one if you want, and you're on the phone for 5 minutes before you ever get anything. And this is a big deal that Prime West answers the phone call. And that's a knowledgeable person knows where to transfer you to, so you're not punching buttons forever. That's a big deal.
I agree. That IVR, the integrated voice response is frustrating, especially if you're, dealing with a medical issue or something in the first place.
Yeah, most people that call customer service to their health insurance aren't calling happy to thank us. They're usually already frustrated about something. They got a bill or something has gone wrong. So yeah, it is the number one reason we hear for why people choose us over another plan. When we talk about marketing and things like that, we always just say, call them, call us. It's kind of an easy way of justifying which plan you want to enroll in. I want to talk about a little bit about ensuring financial solvency and safeguarding member rights here. So ensuring financial solvency is an important part because ultimately counties are at risk for Prime West Health. So this joint powers arrangement, we get a flat capitated amount from the state, basically a premium per member per month premium. When in the years we spend more than that on healthcare, then we have to use our reserve dollars to pay for that. If at any point our reserve got too low, technically the counties are the backup behind that the counties would have to chip in more. Now, in our lifetime of operating, we've been serving members since 2003. We've never had to go to the counties to kick in additional money to help cover one of those. We're very fiscally conservative. We make sure that we keep a healthy reserve so that we never have to knock on that door to try and get those counties. So I don't know how often you actually will look at the financial reports you might get back from Prime West Health, but today we have over $100 million in reserve because of that. That's why we keep those big reserves, is to make sure that we're protecting that financial solvency. The other thing we do with our reserves is do those community reinvestment grants. So whenever we hit that area where we're like, all right, we have enough reserve now, we don't have to worry about that. What percent of that reserve can we kick back into our local communities? And that's the big difference between county-based purchasing and any of the other plans you might be offering.
I'm glad you brought that up, Matt. I was actually just going to ask about that because I thought that was the case, and it's almost like a cooperative in a way. I mean, that the dividends, so to speak, are going back to the local communities, and that's impressive.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a dividend directly.
No, but I mean, it's similar.
It has to, in our statute, it actually has to be used for healthcare or human services. So it has to somehow benefit the population we're serving or the community in that way. Again, different than any other managed care organizations. They don't have that same requirement. So when the state contracts with UCare, Blue Cross, Medica, any of those, they don't have the requirement to have to reinvest back in the communities. County-based purchasing does.
Remind me how that last round of dollars back to us, when there was a grant to one of our departments, or I can't recall.
Yeah, I think Public Health and Human Services, all of our Public Health and Human Services agencies got one. I think it was 2023, maybe it was the grant year. But then there's other times we do some of them like that where we target organizations. There's other ones where we open up RFPs where we can have local providers come and submit requests for proposals. So we funded a Healthy Babies project here, I know, years ago. Cooperative between Sanford, Red Lake, the county. But yeah, I think just off the top of my head, I believe Beltrami County in your time in being a part of Prime West since 2008 is probably around $3 million in grants that have come back to this county.
Commissioner Carlson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as I sit on the Prime West Joint Powers Board, they look at us and say, why does Beltrami always get all the money? There was a real generous donation to the Northwest Minnesota Battered Women's Shelter. I know that they were extremely grateful for that. And I see a vehicle riding around. I'm not sure what it's doing, but it says this vehicle provided by grant from Prime West Health. And so, yeah, we constantly get chided at the board meetings that we get more money than anybody, but I think we have one of the most members too, right?
You do.
Yeah. So.
And a fair amount of need as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and to grants, we try to focus in on areas like that. Like transportation has always been a struggle in rural areas. Dental has always been a struggle in rural areas. So, we help start the dental clinic up here, fund some of their expansions to their newer locations, things like that. So we're always looking at putting the money back into where we think it's kind of most needed to help our residents and ultimately all the residents of the county. Some of the reasons why counties do this, again, it's having control of that public health resource. We're talking about pretty big dollars here when you start to add up these numbers for premiums in there. Ensuring all providers, I talked a little bit about that. Ensuring that, this is another good one, ensuring that all eligible county services are included. So that was another worry that counties have. Ultimately, you're always the last payer. And so they were worried that plans might cost shift, not deny some coverage that ultimately just ends up falling on the county's lap to end up paying in the long run. And we make sure we coordinate that to try and keep that as much what's responsibility of Prime West stays the responsibility of Prime West and doesn't get shifted back onto the county. And then the very bottom one there, just kind of we also directly contract with the county. We contract for all of our case management to be done directly by the county. And so in 2024, I just pulled up a quick number there is, $2.1 million in direct reimbursement back to county for the work that you do to support our members. And that's something that not all health plans have to do. They don't have to contract back with the county case management for case management services. But obviously, being a county-owned entity, it's part of our mission. We make sure that we're contracting back with those counties. I did talk just quickly a little bit about the history. Again, it just is showing some of this legislation and when it came through in the late 90s, when we began serving members in 2003. You can see we started out small. It was a group of 10 counties. We had 5,000 members covered, and at our height we hit 64,000. Today we're just under 50,000. Beltrami, Clearwater, Hubbard were joined in 2008. And then 2019, those counties joined, but we didn't start serving their members until 2023. I know we have two separate programs here. So this last slide is really just talking about other things that Prime West Health does. So in addition to the work we do as a health insurer, we also are a TPA. So we help support the other county-based purchasing entities in the state. And there's two of them, South Country Health Alliance and Itasca Medical Care. And so we actually act as their TPA. So we do their claims processing. We do some of their provider call center, customer service stuff. And so they contract back with us to do some of that work. Rather than kind of creating their own infrastructure and duplicating something that's already being done by another county entity, they contract back with us to do that. And then in addition to that, we do Prime Health. And so Prime Health, shifting gears here, is a political subdivision self-insurance pool that Beltrami County is also a part of, a separate board for Prime Health. This now is shifting from what we do for Medicaid members to what we do for county employees. So early on in Prime West history, and I probably attended 4 or 5 different meetings where different counties were coming to us over time, talking about, all right, we own this health insurance company, we're serving all these Medicaid clients. Why aren't we somehow leveraging this health insurance company we own to do something to help us control the cost of our county employee coverage? And so that's where Prime Health eventually was established. And a few of the counties from Prime West Health joined Prime Health to help pool their insurance. The big thing about Prime Health is the pool, once it was established, it's all for one for all. So once a member's in the pool, you're not individually rated anymore. So what was happening, and I have some slides here that'll illustrate that, is some counties would experience a few high claims. You don't know where those high claims are going to come from. Could be $1 million claim or a $2 million claim. You have an employee or an employee's family member who gets really sick, and you'd end up with a 25 or 30% increase in your rates the next year. And it's how do you kind of balance that with what you're doing with budgeting and building all your levies. And so the idea behind this was, how do we create a bigger pool that can be more stable so that over the long run, we can manage those rates better. So we don't have to adjust quickly to any quick changes like that or large claims. So the idea behind this is that right now the membership in this is 7 of our counties. And then we also have any county-owned entity can participate as well. So Prime West Health, for instance, we're a county-owned entity under a joint powers board. We're also a member of Prime Health. So we get our insurance through there as well. Today, there's about 1,100 employees in that, about 2,100 members. Again, I talked about this self-funded. The idea here is what Prime Health does is It is whatever money we collect in premiums from all those pool members is the money we have to spend on claims, right? There isn't some other insurer somewhere unless we hit a catastrophic claim. We do carry a policy that's at $500,000. Once a claim hits that amount, we have another insurer to pay that. But otherwise, whatever we collect in premiums is what we have to use to create the benefit sets to cover the covered services. And again, a little bit like Prime Health or Prime West, see, we should have changed the name here. A little bit like Prime West is if this pool ended up being short at any given time, we'd have to increase premiums significantly to make up for that shortfall because we also have to keep reserves in this pool as well. That's what the Department of Commerce is looking at us for. Versus a fully insured plan is if you go to an insurance company, buy a fully insured product, you pay them a premium. No matter what the costs are, they're going to have to cover you that year. Now, coming into your renewal next year, they may jack your rates way up because they want to try and recapture whatever they may have lost. But if they do better, they also get to keep that in the self-insured pool. In the years where we have good years, we get to keep that as a part of our pool. It doesn't just disappear into some other health insurer. We get to keep that, either keeping premiums down the next year, adding a new benefit, things like that. Here's the groups that Prime Health currently serves. A little bit about how it benefits the employers, why we're county's interested in doing this. Again, that local control, having control over the benefit, having control over the resource. Again, when you look at your budget, your health insurance line is probably a pretty big line. You guys have a lot of employees here that you're offering coverage to. Where is that money going? How can we have better eyes into what's happening with that dollar? That financial transparency was a big part. Early rate renewals. This was something that wasn't even on our radar when we were developing this plan, but a lot of our county administrators and county HR personnel really said it would be really helpful if you guys could come up with your rates early. So we produce our rates in July of every year so that you have them when you start your budgeting or before you finish your budgeting, so that you know what that increase is going to be for the following year. Whereas most other plans are coming out with renewals later in the fall, late summer and early fall. Again, the idea behind this was long-term rate stabilization. How do we keep these big fluctuations in rates out of the plan in the pool? So this is one of my favorite slides. If you look on the left, all those lines going up and down and all over the place, that is the real experience of all the groups that joined Prime Health at the very beginning before in the years leading up to joining Prime Health. The slide on the right is the experience of those groups since they've been in Prime Health and what they've experienced in rate increases. And so that is the idea behind the pool. It takes away all that kind of individual risk rating, puts you as a part of the pool, and helps stabilize those rates. That was kind of the key to that. It wasn't about, we weren't going to be able to come in and save every county a bunch of money because it's ultimately still based on the cost of care. Whatever the healthcare costs is what it costs. It's about how do we stabilize which group. Nobody knows which group is going to get a big claim this year or next year. So how do we kind of mitigate that risk from those groups? How do we stabilize rates long-term like that? One, this pool requires a 5-year commitment. So any new group that joins us and every time you renew, you're renewing for a 5-year cycle. That allows us not to overreact if one group has a really large claim. We're going to come up here. When we first came out of the gate, we had a member that had a $2 million claim the very first year that we started the pool. And it was a little bit scary and you didn't know, where was that going to come from? How are we going to cover that? But because we had a 5-year commitment, we knew we didn't have to overreact and kind of raise rates way up, that we would hopefully experience some good risk in the future years to make up for that. The shared risk model, like I talked about, it's all for one for all. Once a group's in, we're not individually rating anybody anymore. We monitor the health of this pool all the time to make sure that we have the right factors in there. When we started the Prime Health pool, one of the things we saw in some of our county groups that were experiencing really big increases in their insurance is their family plans had gotten so expensive that no families in their county took the family coverage anymore, which eliminated a whole group of good pool risk that they could potentially have. And they kept continuing to get bigger and bigger increases. Well, the only people left taking insurance were people that knew they had medical expenses that were going to cost more than that insurance was going to be because it was so high or a pre-existing condition that they couldn't go out at that time to anywhere else and get a different plan.
Hey, Matt?
Yes.
On the shared risk model, in the previous slide, you had group 4 that had a big dip in it. You know, all the other ones were pretty, but that green line had a big dip in it and actually had a, negative increase.
Yep.
Are they not in the shared risk or?
No. So what happened is that was at year 5 of the pool, what we also do is go back and review groups for like where they started from. They've been sharing risk and we were sharing it all equally. But that group happened to have a lot of turnover in their employees. So their average age went from, I think it was like 55 when we first started, and it was down to about 35 after year 5.
Okay.
So their risk and their use had changed significantly. And so keeping them as the highest priced group didn't make sense anymore. So we gave them an adjustment back down to what their real risk to the pool should be at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
We also, we have very unique benefit design. I'm sure you guys hear about that from employees. It's different than any other plan, especially when you look at how families buy coverage. But all of those are very intentional to maintaining good pool risk. Here's one of the charts we look at for pool risk. Again, the idea is, do you have families participating? Are most people taking single plans? Again, we want to make sure that we have a healthy combination of those. And you can see in this model, our family plans are growing over time. That's one of the things we want to look at to make sure our pool is staying healthy. If we start to get just a lot of singles and we lose all those kids in the pool, we lost a lot of that good risk that we need to have in to help us maintain good rates for everybody. Just an example, again, you saw that chart earlier that showed we were able to stabilize rates. And here's just an idea of like the high cost claims that we've had over the years. So right out of the gate in 2018, when this pool started, we had 7 high cost claims, and those 7 claims were just under $4 million. Last year in 2024, we had 11 high claims that were just over $4 million. But even when in those cases, we're not having to overreact and adjust rates way up. But if you were with other carriers, they'd look at that and they'd say, hey, we got to make a big adjustment here. We spent a lot of extra money last year. And we didn't have to do that going into 2025 rates. Again, just to look to see the health of the pool, what's kind of our cash balance. This is what the Department of Commerce, who regulates these types of pools, looks at. Do you have enough cash to pay your claims today and any future claims? This is the sheet that's important to them. We're in a very stable place. You can see, again, we had that pretty big decrease those first couple of years because of those high claims right out of the gate. But we've slowly been able to start building back up that cash. And then again, in 24, you saw there were some high claims. So the cash balance decreased a little bit, but again, we're in a very good spot with what we need there. This is just an example. I wanted to show you again, when we're a self-funded plan, every dollar we collect in premium, where does it go? And so what this does is actually kind of shows you if for every dollar in premium we collected, 9.67 cents of it is what our administrative cost was. 10% or 10 cents of it was to our non-preventive pharmacy list. 7 cents of it was our preventive pharmacy. So we have a very extensive preventive pharmacy list where members get all those medications for free when they're on that list. That costs us about 7.1 cents of every dollar we collect to maintain that. And we want to maintain that list. It's a good list. So we spend about 17 cents on pharmacy. Overall, our medical costs are about 81 cents of the dollar. And in 24, you can see we had those large claims. We actually spent 7.9 cents more than we collected on every premium dollar in 2024. So what we'd like to see is where that red doesn't exist and there's a little bit of revenue on the end of that dollar. That's usually a sign that your pool's in good health. You want to be making a couple cents, 1 or 2, % of that, the total premium we'd like to be able to add to reserves so we can reinvest it in other programs over time. But health insurance does fluctuate. It just bounces back and forth. You'll have a year like this and hopefully, knocking on wood here, 2025 is a better year. And we do end up being able to put some money back into the reserve. But again, this is the idea behind this. It's a big self-funded pool. So every dollar we collect, there isn't any more money. This is everybody putting their money in, and then we're paying all the claims that are coming in with those dollars. Any questions on Just wanted to put in our most recent, quarterly financials from March 31st of 2025, just to kind of look at how the Prime Health pool performs overall, to give you an idea of that. So where does our money go? What do we spend things on? How are we sitting financially? So I go down to the bottom of the chart. You can see there's member equity listed there. So there was an initial capital contribution from Prime West. So all of the counties in Prime West at the time had initial capital contribution of $3 million. Our goal is to always kind of stay close to that line. You don't want to be charging too much premium that we're building a big reserve. That's not fair to employers or employees. We don't want to be undercharging on premium when we're eating through all of that. We want to maintain pretty close to that level. And so we're into our 2018 was our first year of service. And now coming out of in the first quarter of 2025, we've accumulated about $156,000 more than that. So we always try to balance that out to try and stay close to that line. How does Prime Health benefit employees? So when we designed the program, we collected all of the current coverage documents, the summaries of benefits and coverage from all of the current plans and carriers that were out there that were offering coverage at the counties. We went through those. We made sure that all the same services were covered, that we weren't eliminating any covered service. So things like there was one of the groups, and it may have been this group, had some limited coverage for bariatric surgery, for instance, which isn't covered by a lot of commercial insurance anymore, but it was still covered on one of these plans. We made sure that was included. There was one of the plans had coverage for infertility treatment, which isn't typically covered in the commercial market anymore. It was offered by one of our plans, so we made sure that that coverage remained in effect. So the idea here was that we weren't trying to take away coverage when we were doing this, but really trying to build plans that could meet every member's need and really focused on where are the majority of members spending their healthcare dollars and how do we build plans that really emphasize, like, how do we help those people that are really the majority of the people in the plan. That preventive medication list, we have a unique custom plan for that. The reason it's so large, there's so many medications on there, is because there was 3 or 4 of them offered by different carriers. We combined them all into one, and that became the Prime Health one. Our coverage is really easy to use. Some of the plans that you see in the market today have, you need prior authorizations and referrals from your primary care doctor to go anywhere. We don't require that as long as it's a network provider. You go to that network provider. We also maximize health savings. So all of our plans, well, the majority of our plans had that health HSA, health savings account, as a part of the plan design. And what we did is encouraged all of the employers to fund that HSA. And so that the employees would actually start to build real balances in those accounts rather than in an old traditional plan where you used to have the $500 deductible and no HSA. Your lowest utilizing employees, the employees who aren't using their healthcare at all, are really getting no benefit from that plan. With an HSA model plan, the majority of our people that aren't using any healthcare, they're able to get those HSA balances and start to build over time so that if and when they do have something, a lot of times they have enough money in those HSAs to cover the cost of their out-of-pockets and any copays or co-insurance that they have. Again, in 2025, first quarter, in Beltrami County employees alone, they have over $2.7 million in employee accounts right now in their HSAs and FEBA accounts. So that's money that could have potentially disappeared into an insurance company that's now sitting within an employee in their accounts. And then we talked a little bit about those age-banded dependent rates. It's a unique part of our plan design, but what it does is it allows an employee to only cover the people they need to cover. So if they only need to add one child, there's a rate for that. If they need to add a whole family, there's a rate for that. So you're they're picking and choosing who they need to add coverage for, and there's a rate individual to that. And that also is comparable to how somebody would shop in the open market. So if they were going to go buy their spousal plan in the open market because their spouse didn't have option to get it through their employer, let's say, when you look at the open market, it's all age-banded dependent rates. And so we try to make sure that we stay competitive with that. So it's still a better deal to come through here for the coverage you get for the premium amount that you're going to pay should still be comparable to what they can get in the open market. A little bit on the plan designs themselves. Again, these are the single plans that you start at the bottom. That's all that preventive stuff, those preventive prescriptions, preventive services that you get. Any of those are always covered by the plan at 100%. Member doesn't pay anything for those. You move up to that light blue, that's that HSA amount that the county's funding into an employee's HSA. Those are dollars that, you know, they're not use it or lose it. They stay with the employee. If they leave here, they get to take it with them. Then you get into the darker blue section, the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, that we call that additional first dollar coverage. So the plan kicks in again and pays 100% of those costs. And then the orange is the true kind of max out of pocket, worst case scenario. If I'm an employee, a single employee, and I have something catastrophic happen to me, how much am I gonna have to cover out of my pocket? And that's what that orange represents. The plan on the farthest right there is a non-HSA plan that we created maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. Designed specifically for what happened was we had employees that started to talk to us about, they could not afford the HSA plans because they knew they had something that was reoccurring. So they might have had a $5,000 medication that they're gonna have to be on. And come January 1, they're gonna have to pay that. They hadn't built up any money in their HSA. They don't wanna go to the pharmacy and have a $4,000 bill left over. So we did create a traditional plan in the pool. It does come with a lot higher premium, but it allows for that kind of spread so that you're used to go back to paying a $500 deductible, an 80-20 cost sharing, so that it helps an employee kind of manage those high cost expenses that they might have as they go through that. Family plans, very similar. There's one family plan that's an HSA plan. There's one that's not an HSA plan. It's basically taking all of those plans and just kind of doubling the bottom part of it. And then they go 1.5 times on the max out of pocket. The big difference there is that red line in the middle, we include it's called an embedded deductible. Means if any one family member has all the costs, it helps to cover that. So the plan will start paying 100% there. So if I'm a family of 4 and it's just my daughter that has something catastrophic happen to her, the plan's gonna start paying at that red line for her. And unless my wife and my other daughter start incurring expenses, we're not gonna have to spend anymore.
How you doing on slides here, Matt? We're just
Just
about
well
out of
done.
time.
Yep, we do use administrative partners. UMR is our TPA that we use for this. So the network is UMR's network, and we use ClearScript as our pharmacy benefit manager. And that's it.
Oh, great. Yep. And commissioners have any questions for Matt? Commissioner Gould?
Yeah, thank you, Matt, for coming in. This has been super helpful for me personally. Any new members on the horizon? Are you looking at for either Prime West or Prime Health?
Prime West, no, I would say 24 counties. So the governing board is county commissioners. You already have 24 of them in a room, so that's a lot. No, but Prime Health, yes, we're always looking for new groups there. Every year we have groups that'll reach out to us. We'll do bids and quotes for those groups, so.
And then I had a question about reinsurance that the state program a few years back did some I don't think they did it this year. There was some talk of it, but would we qualify for those dollars from the state at all?
The state reinsurance pool is specific to those plans that are offered on the exchange.
Okay.
It's to help those plans manage their risk.
Okay. Just a couple more things here, Mr. Chair. Just a quick comment, I've heard a lot of comments from employees and members of the community that the insurance is really great overall as far as quality and coverage, and that the single is affordable, but that the family care is still kind of a burden financially. So anything that we can do as a board or organization to bring down those family cost plans would be super helpful. And then my last question was just Commissioner Sumner kind of touched on this last meeting. I'll touch on it today, but the impact of less Medicaid funding coming in from the federal government. If that happens, what would the impact be to our organizations, the county board, et cetera, in your opinion?
Yeah, so the Medicaid cuts are an interesting question. So there's the two that we're watching specifically, work requirements. If they implement that, what it'll do is who's going to administer that program? And does that all fall to the county today? Like your financial workers now have to be in charge of that. And what is the administrative burden that that's going to add to a county? Big concern. And then you're going to end up with lots of churn on and off programs, right? Because people are going to be more confused with what they need to do. As far as direct cuts, I think the area that we're most concerned with is Minnesota was one of the states that did the expansion population. So we covered adults at a lower percentage of the federal poverty guideline. They allowed it under the Affordable Care Act a while ago. And the federal share of that is actually like 90%. So if the state only is responsible for 10%, the Fed pays 90% of that population. If they change that back to the traditional Medicaid share, that's probably 50%. Does the state have the money to cover that other 40%? Do they look at cutting that program? Do they look at reducing who's eligible for it? I think that would be where some of that could potentially hurt our enrollment. The last time I looked at that population, it's about 7,000 members total of our 50 fall into that expansion population
Okay,
area.
thank you.
Yep. If I can make a comment on the family rates that you had brought up. One thing I would say to look at as a board would be today you contribute the same for a single and a family member. In most of our groups, those are two different contributions. They're different levels, right? A single gets one level of contribution. If you take family coverage, you get another level of contribution. Again, from a pool standpoint, we like the families participating. And so if you think about it from, I know you might have an individual say, well, how is that fair? Just because you have a family, you get more coverage, but it's ultimately helping keep the premiums down for all of those people that are taking single coverage as well. Because the more families we can get into the pool, hopefully it helps us stabilize rates even better, helps us bring down costs. So it is something to consider would be your contribution strategy as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gould. Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate you coming up and enlightening us. Really be handy to have those names be a little different. I know I've been on the board for a while, not as long as Commissioner Sumner, but it's I've always been confused, always mixing those two up. Which one's the employee one and which one's the community one?
Yeah,
So
you thought you were so smart when we started. Oh, let's call it prime something.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate it. All right, so we don't have an administrator report because our administrator is on PTO. Is there anything that anybody wishes to pull from the consent agenda? No? All right, so it looks like you're good to go there, Commissioner Winger, and we will adjourn until 5 o'clock.